Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. We are officially in that post-Nintendo Direct hangover, and normally this would be one of those weeks where I struggle to put together an episode because, to be quite frank, there's not a whole lot going on. But since I was in Paris last week, we get to catch up on the Nintendo Direct news this week instead. We will be hitting all of that with my guest this week, who is actually in Paris with me. It's the incomparable co-founder of Kinda Funny Games. It's Tim Gettys. How are you, Tim?
Oh my god, I'm so excited. So excited to finally be on the show. I feel like we talked about this so many times for so long, but this feels right. Hanging out with you for a couple days in Paris, having a great time, and you're no small part of that. Me and you have not hung out nearly enough, but like, the vibes are right, man. You're a cool dude. I don't know if you listeners and watchers know that. Brian Shea, cool dude.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you, who is also a very cool dude. So, we've hung out at the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater events where we got to see Lupe Fiasco together. That was pretty sick. And then we got to play Pokemon Go in Paris.
Yeah. Which was so much fun. And yeah, obviously so many stories there. But while we were there, this Nintendo Direct happened. The first Nintendo Direct of the Switch 2's life after it being released. Like, Very exciting stuff, right? The first real Direct. And yeah, we have a much better idea of what Nintendo's lineup looks like the rest of this year, early next year. I'm excited to dive into it.
And you're a consummate professional, jumping straight into the Direct. But before we do that, extremely jam-packed Nintendo Direct. But while we were in Paris, did like the walking tour where we were walking around. It's like, oh, there's the Louvre. Oh, there's the Eiffel Tower. It's just like wild to be doing that. But I also got to meet your wonderful wife on this trip.
Yes.
Who much to my surprise, is expecting. Congratulations, because when we got back to the US, you revealed that to the world on social media.
I am going to be a dad. It is a crazy world. Even saying that sentence, I'm like, this guy? I'm looking at myself right now. That guy is going to be a dad? That's nuts. A very crazy thing is that Tony Hawk event you were talking about where we got to see Lupe Fiasco. When I got back to San Francisco on at the airport, she picked me up, and the first thing she showed me was the positive pregnancy test. So I actually found out that day, which was nuts. But yeah, thank you so much, man. It's kind of a crazy time, but trying to get all my gaming in the next couple months, because once January comes, things are going to change.
Dude, I could not be happier for you. That is incredible news. And like I said, it was a huge surprise. Be like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, okay, yeah, I see what's going on here.
Oh, yeah. Crazy. And she's very big, because she's a tiny, tiny girl. She's 5 feet tall, and man, she is pregnant.
Well, congratulations again. And I mean, the announcement post could not have been better. It's you guys in front of the Eiffel Tower, like just being like, yep, here's what's going on, guys.
Did you play Expedition 33?
I played the first act of Expedition 33, and then I got sidetracked.
I know this is a Nintendo podcast, and I expect one day the game will come to Nintendo, but I just want to say, so far, Expedition 33 is my game of the year. So it was very, very special to be in Paris, and we're naming my daughter her middle name, at least. We're not saying her first name yet, but it's Maëlle, which is a character from Expedition 33. So it all just felt very, very right. So anyway, enough about me.
Well, we're going to continue learning about you, because we have a time-honored tradition whenever anybody makes their debut on All Things Nintendo, and that is getting to know them through the lens of their history with Nintendo. So the first part of that is getting your first Nintendo game. This can be your first memory of playing a Nintendo game, the first Nintendo game you owned, the first console, however you want to interpret this question.
So I will interpret it by the first game that I owned. The first Nintendo game and the first video game that I ever owned makes me literally, I think, the luckiest gamer in the entire world. It was my Super Nintendo that came with the Super Mario All-Stars Plus World cartridge.
Bro.
The single greatest cartridge of video games ever made. How spoiled was I to be this kid in like second grade, get my first game console, and it includes remakes of Mario 1, 2, 3, we get World, and we get Lost Levels all in one package. Like, it was too much. And to think back now about how much of some of the greatest games ever made. I just got to have as my like first real owned experience. Like that was so special, and I am very thankful that I ended up getting my copy of that cartridge signed by Miyamoto a couple of years ago,
Oh.
and that's my treasured physical item I have in my life. Like it is so special and cool. But yeah, that to me, I would say was my first real foray into Nintendo. And I mean, well, again, I had interest before, right? Like I wanted that, and it took a lot of convincing and a lot of work from my mom and dad, who I'm very thankful for, saving up to get me that, because it was not accessible to me at how much money our family had back in the day. But one of my really good friends, Kevin Coelho, who works with us, I grew up with him, and his older sisters were really big into going to garage sales. And I remember one day we just had the greatest come up of all time, where someone was getting rid of their NES and like 25 games for like $15.
Ooh.
So we got this crazy haul, and we're able to go back and have the 2 gold Zelda cartridges, all the Marios, Paperboy. Like we got like such a history lesson catch up of the entire NES era, like the 80s in the 90s, and it was awesome. So I've been a Nintendo boy since day one for me. But yeah, more than anything video games, I am a Nintendo kid at heart.
Absolutely. And I mean, my first Nintendo game was that I owned was a Super Nintendo as well, but it was just the like stock Super Mario World cartridge that came with it. So I thought we were about to be like on another level here, but close enough, because I wanted that Super Mario All-Stars cartridge so badly as a kid. I remember going to like a friend's house to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the concept of remakes back then was not that commonplace. That's like the first super high profile like remake compilation. Like you got 4 remakes in Super Mario All-Stars and then also Super Mario World, like one of the greatest in my opinion, the greatest platformer of all time. It's like
on one cart. Yeah, it's wild, man. And it's really wild to think too about, and this is very I think evident of how Nintendo did things and now does things with a long time in between. But we're talking about remasters, remakes, whatever you want to call it. Like it'd be the equivalent of like an HD remaster. But a lot of them function almost more like traditional contemporary remakes, because they were all new art assets. It's not just like higher resolution or widescreen or whatever. It wasn't even widescreen, but it was like all new music, all new everything. And it's wild that those exact versions of the games were then later ported to Game Boy Advance as the Mario Advance series, with a couple extra things. There was the Yoshi coins and like some extra modes and stuff, but they sold each one of those as a full price title. So to think of how spoiled we were in the early 90s getting all of those games on one cartridge, and then later they piecemealed them out as full price titles, it's like, oh man, like what a different time.
Yeah, we will be talking a little bit about the differences in pricing as we get into this Nintendo Direct. But yeah, excellent starting point in your love of Nintendo, which eventually matured into the second part of this question, which is your favorite Nintendo games. This is straightforward. Favorite Nintendo game of all time?
Yeah, I mean, like, God, the cheating answer, if it literally was just one thing, it would be Mario All-Stars Plus World. That one cartridge is incredible. It's this question, ask me any hour on any day, I can give it a different answer, right? Like, there's just so many that are near and dear to my heart. But Yoshi's Island was the first game I ever beat, and that will always hold a very special place where I will always defend that game. A lot of people like to write it off as not as good as a lot of the other Mario games, and whatever you want to call it. I know it technically isn't, but I don't care about that conversation. It's an amazing game. But like, I really, really got to go with Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Like that, the fact that that game exists and achieved what it did is so special to me. That Everyone Is Here trailer literally made me cry.
God.
Like just the idea of like this franchise I love so much, that if I have to choose my favorite Nintendo game, I'm gonna choose the game that loves Nintendo so much. It is as much a video game as it is a love letter to Nintendo and its franchises. And Sakurai, obviously, the director, cares so deeply about video games and their rich history. And Smash Brothers is just such an incredible representation of fun. And so I basic answer, but I gotta go with it.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine telling somebody from the 90s about Super Smash Brothers Ultimate and be like, yeah, Mario's in it and he fights Pikachu and there's all these other characters, but also Sonic and Snake and like all these like characters from outside of Nintendo are also in it. Like just the idea of Mario and Sonic being in a game together would blow
Oh,
the 90s kids' minds. But then like add in all these other characters and it's like, yeah, they're all in a fighting game. It's like,
yeah.
how did this even happen?
I mean, Smash Brothers is I think so important to the culture of video games. But yeah, being a '90s kid, like I had Smash Brothers. Well, I did. My friend did. Day one, and we would play it every single day for summers and summers and summers. Graduating into Melee, taking it a lot more seriously in middle school, and so on and so forth. I remember when Brawl was coming out, they did those every night. Sakurai would do the Japan time
Mm-hmm.
where they released something new, some new piece of information about the game. I stayed up every night to hear the news. And when Sonic was announced, that was mind blowing. We move on. Eventually, we get Cloud Strife, end it all with Sora. Dude, the game just kept on giving. We got Banjo, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Thank God Banjo and Kazooie having signs of life in
Yes,
the
exactly.
21st century.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, fantastic choice there. We're going to start transitioning over to the Nintendo Direct portion of this show. But before we jump into that, just a reminder, you are listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast. This show arrives in your podcast feeds completely free. But if you would like to support me and allow me to keep on making these episodes week after week, you can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord, which grants priority access to Q&A episodes. But there are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you things like early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every show. Just go to patreon.com and search All Things Nintendo. It would really help the show continue if you're able to join up. All right, Tim. With that in mind, let's jump into this Nintendo Direct. You were at the watch party, right? We got
No,
together. No, you
I,
weren't.
I, I wasn't because I deeply care about Nintendo and Nintendo Directs, and I love live reacting to things. So I was really
Oh,
bummed to
okay.
not be here at the Kind of Funny Studios with the boys reacting. So I had to do it myself. So my live reactions, I had to record them, and I didn't want to be bothering y'all screaming about
That's
stuff. You know
fair.
what I mean? So I hope y'all had the best time. I definitely did. I had a great time watching this Direct, and you can check it out on Kind of Funny Games.
Absolutely. Do that. I love live reactions, so I might go back and watch it retroactively. But we started this Nintendo Direct out with a lengthy segment about the very topic that I spent all last episode talking about. That is the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, and this section was led by Shigeru Miyamoto. No need for an introduction there. But first up, the Nintendo Museum in Kyoto now has development drawings, including the grid paper designs that I talked about in last week's show
So
from the
cool.
Mario franchise. I know, right? Like I've seen them because I wrote a feature about the history of Mario when the 30th anniversary rolled around. But like to see those in person would be incredible.
Yeah.
Plus, the tickets are going to be Mario 40th anniversary themed for the next calendar year. And there will also be a special light display at the Nintendo Museum to celebrate the 40th anniversary. Tim, have you been to the Nintendo Museum in Kyoto?
Unfortunately, I have not. The closest is we now have the Nintendo World Store in San
Mhm.
Francisco, but I've been to the Nintendo World Store in New York, and some of the pieces, the historical stuff, used to be in a mini museum there that I think they now moved to Kyoto. So I've seen some of the things, but unfortunately, I have not made it there yet. That will be on my bucket list because, come on, so cool.
Yeah, I am actually doing a trip with my partner to Japan this December. And I'm like, oh,
Ooh,
just in time for all this stuff to hit.
perfect.
So I'm going to do my best to make it over. This will be my first time going to Japan just for fun. The preceding 5 times have been for work. So it's like sixth time is the time where I'm actually going to set a lot of time aside for myself and do all the stuff that
Love
I'm
it.
always like, oh, if I had time, I would do this. So very much looking forward to that. After that, we got one of those please take a look at this things. And we got the first trailer for the second Super Mario Brothers movie, which was revealed to be the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And that got a pop in the watch party room. There were like a bunch of media people that were there for the Pokemon Go thing. We're very excited about that. But we didn't really learn much aside from Mario and all the cast that we know is going to be in this movie are heading to space. So in line with the Mario Galaxy franchise. And then Miyamoto said it would be the primary celebration for Mario's 40th anniversary. And that kind of tipped me off right there that maybe we aren't getting a 3D Mario game for this anniversary. But then Illumination CEO Chris Meledandri came on, revealed that Chris Pratt would return as Mario, Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, and Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek, plus Michael Jelenic and Aaron Horvath, who have appeared on this very podcast, will be back to direct this. Plus, Brian Tyler is composing again.
And that's the most important part, because the music in the first movie was spectacular. And the little hints we got here of the Mario World themes and kind of different themes from World kind of teeing up to the reveal of It's Galaxy, baby, sounded so damn good. And I think really was the star of the show for this little announcement trailer.
Truly, it was fantastic. I mean, I was excited to see the little like visual cues, but like the music really hit. Meledandri also said that the Mario Galaxy games will be the main inspiration, but they are not the only thing that they are taking cues from. And he said that there will be some things that will surprise everyone. So, first of all, were you surprised that this is where they're going next? Because I was kind of expecting it to go Mario Brothers, Mario World, Mario Galaxy, especially given the Yoshi tease at the end of the first movie. So it was Galaxy kind of like outside of some leaks that may have hit the internet before this. Was this a surprise for you?
You kind of took every word right out of my mouth there. Obviously, there was the leaks, and there have been leaks for the last year or so, I would say, of there being products or just like the idea that the movie's going to be called Galaxy. I'm with you that I am surprised they're skipping over World. I just don't necessarily think it's the right move. I just think in terms of this being a giant movie franchise, which it is, the first made over $1 billion. I loved it. It's definitely not the best movie of all time, but as a Nintendo fan, a Mario fan, like, again, like just the music alone of that movie, I think is such a highlight and such a love letter to Mario that how could you dislike it? Having said that, half of the tracks weren't even there because they played all those licensed songs, and that was a bummer. Which I don't know if you even know this. You probably do because you're really in tune with the stuff. But if you listen to the Mario movie soundtrack, all of those bits that there's licensed music have a score that should have been there.
Oh, really? I did not know that, actually.
In the Donkey Kong, when they get to the Donkey Kong area, they're on the carts, and Take On Me by Aha's playing. It's actually supposed to be like the DK theme playing.
Oh, that would have been so much better.
Good. And because I'm a nerd like this, I edited my own version of the movie that has all the tracks correctly in it. And it's so much better. Anyway, I'm such a nerd. But very hyped for the sequel to this movie. And yeah, I kind of feel like I would have liked to see it grow and progress a little bit over time. Because obviously they're rushing to try to get to like a Smash Brothers type thing. And I'm all about that. But at the same time, it's like, yo, there's really no need to rush. Like, you don't go back to World. You know what I mean? And I feel like Galaxy really, really, really changed Mario forever in a lot of ways. So it seems a little early. Seems like there's a lot of stuff to kind of throw together. But at the end of the day, it's a Mario movie. Like, they're not going to like treat this with the most respect in terms of character development and story and all that stuff. So I'm not mad at all. I'm just a little surprised. And this isn't the move I would have made. Having said that, this means we're just going to hear more Mario Galaxy music in the movie theaters, and I can't complain.
I mean, I don't imagine there's a scenario where I don't get emotional listening to some of these songs. Like when we got Sonic 3 in theaters, and Live and Learn is coming over the stereo in the theater, I am losing my mind. Like freaking out. And
going with that, like the Sonic movies, I think they're not perfect. They're far from it, but I think they've only gotten better and better and better. And I think it is that kind of maturation in time to be able to earn these moments and like focus more on the characters. Mario straight up just jumped into it, which I think is better. But yeah, we'll see. The biggest disappointment for me, though, and you kind of alluded to this, is the lack of actual news here. Like, give us the voice actress for Rosalina. Like one of my favorite news announcements of all time was when they dropped all of the voice actors for the first movie. It felt like a fever dream. And for this really to kind of do that again, but then not add to it when we know there's added characters, I thought that was kind of a letdown.
Yeah, I mean, you know that there's going to be, somebody's got to play Yoshi. Somebody's got to play Rosalina. Like, you can't do a Mario Galaxy movie without Rosalina. Who is your dream casting for Rosalina? I
You
heard a
know,
good answer from the boys over at the Direct podcast, which I know you're friends with them.
yeah,
They said Scarlett Johansson, which I could see. They're going with
yeah.
big
It's
names.
funny. The boys here brought someone up that immediately I was like, really? And then I was like, you know what? It's actually great. Is Ariana Grande? Like, I
Oh
think she's too
yeah,
big at this point. Like she wants things that are vehicles for her own career, like Wicked. I don't see her doing this, but I actually think she can kind of nail Rosalina and add a lot to it. But again, we're talking about casting in a world that makes no sense. Like when we heard Keegan Michael Key's going to be Toad, like that felt like such a joke. I mean, Chris Pratt is Mario. Like all of this is so bizarre that yeah, I'm excited to see who they have. I do think it's going to be someone fun though.
yeah. It's going to be somebody big name because like they already have the existing cast locked into contracts. So now that this movie
Yeah,
was a runaway success, now they can start adding pieces to the puzzle. And you know those pieces are going to be very high profile. Like look at the Sonic franchise again. Like another example of that. First we added
Keanu
Idris
Reeves.
Elba, then we got Keanu Reeves, and it's like
Yeah,
if you look back at that and you're like, okay, well, the first one had Jim Carrey, which was a big name, and like Ben Schwartz is
yeah.
a big name, but like relatively niche and like a perfect fit for that. Like he's a celebrity, but like not like super A list the way like some of the other people are. Jim Carrey
Hmm.
obviously is, so he was like the big name in that cast. Then you get over to Idris Elba and you're like, oh wow, that's huge. And then Keanu Reeves, it's like, oh my god, like they're just assembling this incredible cast. And I could see the Mario movies as they continue on doing that. I mean, we already have Seth Rogen, Jack Black, and
Yeah,
Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy. Like it's already an incredible cast, and I could see them just like slowly like piecing together their version of the Avengers to make this Mushroom Kingdom come to life.
totally.
So that is, I mean, that was a big surprise that we got that, and again, disappointment that we didn't get any additional cast members there. But the thing that keeps catching me off guard is it's surprising how close we actually are to this movie. Like it feels
Oh
super
yeah,
far away, but it's
April.
coming out April 3rd. Like
Hmm.
it's right around the corner.
Yeah,
So like I don't know, something to look forward
exciting.
to. Yeah, and I mean we're at the point where this is like the hype engines are going to start revving up very soon here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this actually follows the same cycle that the first movie did, where we got a Nintendo Direct in September that announced the voice cast. I mean, I think it was during the Mario, like some Mario thing,
Mm,
and then Game Awards is when we saw our first clip of the movie
right.
itself. And so yeah, I imagine we'll get a similar thing here of getting a clip from Super Mario Galaxy, the movie, at Game Awards.
And speaking of Super Mario Galaxy, the next thing that Miyamoto showed us was that Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 are coming to Switch and Switch 2. And they're going to be outside
Yes.
of the Super Mario 3D All Stars pack. I was always speculating that they would do it as like a Switch 2 edition of the Mario 3D All Stars pack. And then if you bought that upgrade, it would just add Galaxy 2 into the mix. And it's like, okay, well, $20 upgrade or whatever if you own that. But you know, no longer chained to that, and you know, finally having Super Mario Galaxy 2 on modern consoles is incredible. If you're on Switch 2, the games will play in 4K resolution. There will be a physical combo pack, and you can buy them digitally for $40 a pop, or get the combo pack for $70. So you do save $10 if you want both of them, and you don't have All Stars or 3D All Stars. And that price pretty divisive for a lot of fans since the game's, you know, definitely resolution is better, but it doesn't seem to have much in the way of updates. And there was a screenshot that I saw circulating of Mario Galaxy on the Wii U eShop costing just $10,
Well,
which
technically it was 15. All right. The $10 was like a weird little time sale thing. But yeah, even then, $15 compared to 70 or even 40 is a little wild. Price aside for a second, we are talking about two of the best games ever made. And
absolutely.
specifically, Galaxy 2 is phenomenal. Like, that is a game that shouldn't exist when you look at the history of how Nintendo releases titles. Like, we got Mario 64. Took a couple years till we got Sunshine, then a couple years till we get Galaxy. Getting a sequel on the same console generation, that was wild, right? And for it to be as good as it was, like, I love Galaxy 1. I can't believe that Galaxy 2 is better, but I think that it is. And I think
It's
most people
close.
agree with that, right? So getting them both together, I think, is awesome. I obviously have the 3D All Stars pack, but I was concerned. I'm with you that a Switch 2 edition would have been awesome, but I was concerned we just weren't going to get it at all. So the fact that this is actually happening and it's the two games together with the 4K, the thing that's huge for me is it's not just like a resolution boost because, allegedly we could do that any way we want to. It's actually like they're updating text and they're like making some of the little things a lot more premium. And to me, that goes a long way because I really don't like when, cool, the game's prettier, but the UI still looks horrible because it's just a bunch of low-res JPEGs, right? So the love and care they're putting into this so far, I think, is what Galaxy 1 and 2 deserve. Galaxy was the franchise that really kind of introduced like the idea of like live orchestration to Nintendo soundtracks, and I want the visuals to match the sound and epicness of Mario Galaxy. So I'm hyped every which way. The price is the thing that's like, dang, man, like we're just in such a bad time with Nintendo pricing. They've always made weird decisions, but right now some of this stuff's just egregious, and I feel like a broken record on all our kind of funny shows right now talking about this stuff. The tariff situation and the state of the world makes me kind of like look at all the accessories and the amiibo and all of that, and I hate it. I hate the price increases, but I look at it, I'm like, okay, but there's a reason why this is happening, and I don't believe that when this is all over, God willing, it is over at some point, that Nintendo's going to change it, because now they're like, well, these people will pay this stuff, so here's a Virtual Boy peripheral for $100. That's a bummer. But yeah, Mario Kart World being $80 is, in my opinion, unacceptable. That's just absolutely wild. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD being a full price game is unacceptable for a game that is as old as it was, and for how not great of a remaster that even was. It was good. But yeah, we're in this place right now where it's like, yeah, expect the worst from Nintendo from a price perspective.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you mentioned, like the genie's not going to go back in that bottle. Like they're not going to roll back prices when, international relations improve and suddenly there's not these tariffs in place or any kind of additional taxes that they're going to have to pay to get these products to the US. It's just, it's going to be this way probably in perpetuity, because like people are going to buy it, when myself included, like I'm guilty of it too. And then going forward, there's going to be, people will pay this. It doesn't have to be $15 on the Wii U to get people to pay it. It's going to just, we could release these old games for $40 or $60 or $70, and people are going to eat it up. As long as it's like, those classic games from their childhood, people will pay that price.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to defend that at all, because like there's so much there that is bad. There is just this other side to me that like I am just so happy we're officially getting Mario Galaxy 2 back, and that they do seem to be putting the love and care into it. Again, is it the value proposition? Is it worth this? I think that's a separate conversation, but it wasn't a guarantee we were going to ever see this game again, and for it to be trapped on the Wii is a crime. Like I having all the 3D Mario games playable on one console is going to be great, and I think important for the future of Nintendo.
Absolutely agreed. And this won't be the last time that we talk about pricing of certain items. But if you're excited for Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2, they come to Switch and Switch 2 in just a couple of weeks, October 2nd. So you don't have long to wait before you can drop that $40 to $70. And you know what? The very next topic is another one of those price discussions that we're going to have. Amiibos are back, baby. We are getting 2 Mario Galaxy themed Amiibos, Mario and Luma and Rosalina and Lumas. Those are $40 each, which is already pretty pricey, especially considering like Amiibos used to be around $15. But that's not even the worst of it, because we also got
They are
Metroid.
bigger.
They're bigger, but like, did they need to be?
No, exactly. I ain't for this, but
so Metroid Prime 4 amiibos that are also $40 each, and then Kirby Air Riders amiibos that will be $50. Which
little 2-part ones. They get the Warp Star and Kirby.
I get that they come apart, but like, again, do they need to? Like, at what cost? So
yeah, a large one.
Throughout that direct, I kept saying like Nintendo's back in on amiibos, but legitimately, like it really is like the at what cost question, because I stopped buying amiibos a while ago, but then Nintendo also stopped making them for the most part a while ago. And then we got like a Donkey Kong Bonanza amiibo earlier this year, which I picked up. It's the first amiibo I've bought in quite some time. And then
There's
like
the whole
the
Street Fighter collection of
Street
them. Like
Fighter ones.
I feel like they've kind of been supporting them, just not as huge as they used to. But like, there's always like, here's the Zelda ones and all the Smash Brothers characters. Like, so I don't know, but I had to make a call myself a long time ago to just never get into Amiibos, or else I'd go bankrupt. So I'm happy I made that call and have stuck to it because yeah, we're getting to a point now where I'm like, this is egregious, man. It's simply egregious.
I like the Galaxy ones. I don't know if I would need any of the other ones. The Samus on the motorcycle is pretty cool, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. But this really did feel like an official gesture of them being like, yeah, we are back and invested in these little figures that can interact with your games.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought the NFC stuff was going to be taken out of the Joy-Con 2s. So the fact that it's not, it's like, yeah, I think it is a commitment to Amiibos aren't going anywhere. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a reinvestment into the boom that they had back in the Wii U days, but I do think that they're not going anywhere. And I definitely don't think they're going anywhere in terms of store shelves. Every time I go to a Best Buy, they're just lined with Amiibos, and I don't think raising the price is going to be the answer to get them off the shelves, but we'll see.
Yeah. If you've been to the Nintendo World San Francisco store, there is an entire wall with so many amiibos. Like you can find a lot of rare ones there, like including like the Mii characters and everything. I went to one of like the preview days of that a couple months ago, and it's on par with the Tokyo store in Shibuya, which I also went to last month, and it's just incredible. Like the amiibos when you see them all laid out like that.
Yeah,
But
it's
or
wild.
yeah, so excited for that because like it is cool to have like a neat little like figure from your favorite game. But yeah, I just wish the prices were a little bit lower.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back into the games here. At this point, Yoshiaki Koizumi kind of took over for Shigeru Miyamoto, and he introduced Mario Tennis Fever, which is the next entry in the Mario Tennis franchise. It's going to have 38 playable characters, which is a lot in the Mario Tennis franchise. Then there's going to be 30 different rackets that all have different fever abilities. There are several different modes, including tournament, trial towers, and mix it up mode, which actually introduces wonder effects from Super Mario Bros. Wonder into the tennis. And then there's a single player adventure mode where Mario and his friends are transformed into babies and need to beat monsters in tennis to return to normal. So, par for the course with, or I guess we shouldn't do golf metaphors here. We should do tennis.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't know. I had to think on my feet there. There are also motion controls using the Joy-Con 2s. Are you a big Mario Tennis guy?
No, at a certain point I was, and specifically Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color holds a very special place in my heart. And I know that a couple of the Mario Golf games, like Greg Miller and them over here, are huge fans of the GameCube one and even the 3DS one. But I think that the Mario sports titles are probably the best example of Nintendo taking the wrong steps during the Switch generation. I think the Switch lineup of Nintendo's first party games was so killer and immaculate, and I feel like there's the obvious Mario Odysseys and Smash Ultimate and the Zelda games, but in addition to that, I think that the Switch was really a coming out party to Fire Emblem and like Kirby and the Forgotten Land and like some of these like not S tier Nintendo franchises in terms of public perception, not in terms of quality. I think kind of got their time to shine. Luigi's Mansion 3 sold like what, over 10 million copies. Like it was just such a great system that people wanted to play on. And so I think that a lot of the less than like mainstream Nintendo IP kind of got a second chance at life, and or not even second chance, like a first chance at love from a lot of people. And the Mario sports games just didn't rise up to the challenge. I think that all of them could have been, this is the best tennis yet, this is the best golf yet, and they just didn't do that. So on one hand, it feels crazy we're going back to tennis so soon, but on the other hand, it's been almost a decade. So
I mean, I think the best example of that was Strikers when it came back to Switch. It seemed like that,
yeah.
like people liked golf, people liked tennis on Switch. It seemed like Strikers, everybody was pretty like unanimously underwhelmed with the direction that they took with that, and it's unfortunate because I know people were waiting a long time for new Strikers, and
Me too. I was one of those people. Strikers was always my Mario sports game. So
mhm.
yeah, the Switch one was a letdown for sure.
Well, I think that Mario Tennis Fever looks pretty cool. The Wonder Effects mode seems like a really awesome addition. The huge roster is great. And it's coming to Switch 2 on February 12th of next year, so we don't have super long to wait there.
I like
Uh,
the idea of a single player campaign. The baby stuff, I'm not sold on, but I
yeah.
think overall, like that's the type of stuff that I do think I want to see more of. I didn't really like it in the most recent golf game, but I think
No.
a better implementation can go a long way.
Yeah, I was super excited about golf having a single player like RPG style because that's what made some of those older golf games so amazing.
Exactly.
And they just it was not great. That was
Yeah.
my least favorite part of that package. I think the golf itself was fun. It was
Yeah.
just the single player mode was less than ideal.
And the Wonder Flower effects and all that stuff, super cool,
Hmm.
super cool. So hopefully that's fun and it adds up to being a worthwhile experience.
Here's hoping, and then hopefully it sets the sports games on the correct trajectory as we move into the meat of the Switch 2 life cycle.
Yes.
So next up, we got Super Mario Brothers Wonders Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. This adds the Meetup in Bellabelle Pack. Bellabelle Park, Bellabelle Pack. I don't know. My notes got messed up. Which seems like it's a bunch of multiplayer mini games. So I don't know. It says you do things like collect the most coins, play tag, throw the bob-omb back and forth before you get to the goal. Which all of that just it sounds like it's fun, but not exactly what I want from a Mario game. But Nintendo also says there will be more content added to this before it comes out in spring 2026. But for now, how are you feeling about this upgrade to Mario Wonder?
So that the little bit at the end, we did see in the direct tease at we're actually getting more single player content. There will be new levels featuring the Koopa Kids, which very and also the trailer accidentally revealed that Rosalina is going to be a playable character. I think that's awesome. Yeah, so I'm definitely down for more Mario Wonder. And the Switch 2 editions have been so fascinating to me and how inconsistent they've been. I'm as a Nintendo fan, I'm a big fan of here's the game plus other mode like Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Oh my god, I loved Bowser's Fury, loved it,
So good.
and an excuse to replay 3D World. Give it to me, baby. I want a reason to go back to Wonder. So getting some of this extra stuff, I'm like, yeah, totally stoked on that. The thing for me though is it seems like the main course of this additional part is the multiplayer like party stuff, and I'm in a weird place with it where I actually think it looks awesome. I just don't know that its home is in this package. I feel like if they were going to do a multiplayer like a Mario Party style game, but in the 2D Mario framework, like that could almost be its own product. Like that, I think I would want to see it be a full featured. Doesn't need to be a full price title or anything. No, Nintendo it would be, but like I would love to see like that. This is a game that we're trying to make because the Rayman Origins and Legends are two of my favorite 2D platformers, and some of the multiplayer modes they had there. One was like Kung Fu Soccer or something like that. I forget the name of it. It was so much fun, and those games were so inspired by the new Super Mario Brothers games. I really do think that there's something there, but it being like this tacked on mode to Wonder that came out a couple years ago, the Switch 2 edition, I just don't see them actually giving it the love it needs to stand out enough. And
Mhm.
this feels like, people trying it out for the review, maybe for a weekend or a stream or two, but I don't think it has the staying power. And I know the argument might be like, well, it doesn't need it, but it's like this almost feels like it's just grasping at reasons to be able to release this game for even more money this time.
Yeah, and like you said, like the Switch 2 upgrades have been so inconsistent because some of them are like, this adds almost nothing, but we're going to charge you $10 for it just because it runs better. Whereas like other ones, it's like, yeah, we're just going to give this to you for free. And then other ones are like, it's going to be $20 and we're going to give you like some remixes of old levels. And it's like,
Yeah,
what's the decision making process on like
it's
what,
bizarre.
yeah, what do they charge and what do they like expect people to pay for these things? It's just, I would love to be like a fly on the wall in the room where they make that decision and like figure out like what the sweet spot is for the prices. But
Yeah.
we also learned about a couple of physical things related to those announcements. You'll be able to buy the physical version of Rosalina's Storybook from Mario Galaxy, and then there's also a talking flower, a physical talking flower that at first I was like, oh no, is this going to be like an AI like talking flower?
Yeah.
But they clarified you cannot converse with it, but it will talk to you, and it will also talk to itself sometimes. And it said,
Great.
if you want. So it
That's
doesn't, just in
yep.
case you don't want it just like talking to itself when you're like in a meeting or something or recording a podcast.
Yeah, man, it's weird. But here's the thing: I like this.
I do
I
too.
think that I think that it's. I like when Nintendo does weird things. They're not always for me. This talking flower, definitely not for me. Guess what? Rosalina's Storybook. I have it pre-ordered. I have a child on the way. This is awesome. I'm very excited about this. Even if I didn't have a child, I'd still pre-order it because I love Rosalina and the art looks awesome. And it's reasonably priced. That's $25.
$25.
Right, for a hardcover book. But anyways, the talking flower to me, definitely not a product I need. Definitely not something I want. Very similar to Alarmo. The difference is, I like that the talking flower for Mario Wonder is getting some love. I like when the new cast and crew of these games kind of gets featured. Like Cappy came and went. Cappy got no love. He was in Odyssey
Right?
and he's gone. This Wonder Flower, he's popping up left and right. Good for him.
Yeah, he's in the Bella Bell Park DLC as the announcer. And
Yeah,
he's in isn't he the commentator in Mario Tennis Fever as
yeah,
well? That's
yeah. It's
incredible.
pretty cool.
Yeah, they found a good thing with the talking flowers, so I'm glad that they're sticking with it, not just relegating it to, oh, that's a thing from that one game that you're never going to see again.
Exactly.
I could see myself getting the talking flower. I don't know if I need the storybook, but the talking flower I could see just like looking really good on a shelf. So I think the last thing, yeah, this is the last thing. Nintendo and Koizumi wrapped that up, that segment, which, by the way, the segment took a fifth of the overall direct. This is an hour-long direct, and
Yeah.
a fifth of that was Mario 40th anniversary stuff. And the final announcement, I was like, all right, here's where we get our 3D Mario, because it seems so obvious. But it was Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. And when I was watching it, I was like, oh, they're doing like new Yoshi story. But no, that's not the case. But this is close enough. It's a side-scrolling game where a talking book called Mr. E falls from the sky onto Yoshi's island and sends Yoshi on an adventure within the pages of his book. And one thing I'm excited about this, the Yoshi franchise has always been about like super cool gimmicks. And this seems like they are leaning wholeheartedly into that. And they're able to like do these kind of fantastical worlds and everything because you're within this book. So that's super exciting for me. I'm still holding out hope that we're going to get Yoshi's Woolly World on Switch
Yeah,
or Switch
I
2.
definitely, I think we will for sure at some point. We have to. I'm a huge Yoshi guy. I was saying earlier, Yoshi's Island's the first game I beat. Yoshi's Island in particular is something that I think will never be touched. Like, it's so good, and unfortunately, we're just never going to get it quite that good. We got the sequel on DS that was definitely not as good as one, but it was actually legit. Like, it was a good game. Not great, but good game. And then Yoshi's New Island was bad on 3DS. And I think a lot of it has to do with these games work best when they have a unique art style and commit to it with a gimmick. And we look at the 2D Mario games, and what makes Mario 3 and World so special is they had unique visual styles. When we got to the new Super Mario Brothers games and they were just doing the same thing over and over and over and over, a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was just visually uninteresting because we've seen it before. I like that this Yoshi game looks different. It's taking a different kind of almost claymation style, and I think that worked really well for the Woolly World and Crafted World, Yoshi
Oh, yeah.
having these different styles. And those games, one of them really good, one of them not so good. And the thing about them, though, is like they're definitely for a different audience. Yoshi's Island was a hard game. Yoshi's Island was in line with the Mario games, and the more recent Yoshi games over the last 20 years are for a different audience. And this one looks like it is too. That's fine. I selfishly wish that this was more up to the Yoshi's Island standards. I have a lot of questions about this. I'm not sure it's going to be my favorite game. I want more, even if it's for kids or whatever. I want these games to also be great and have standout styles. Kirby and the Forgotten Land's a great example to me. Like, that game is a kid's game, but it also works for adults. The Yoshi games, I think, sometimes can struggle with that. And Princess Peach's Showtime is an example for me this year, or last year. It was a pretty big letdown. Like, I feel like that game had so much potential, and it ended up just being like something that felt like they didn't fully see the vision through and just wanted to put something out. I hope this Yoshi game isn't that. And what we're seeing so far, I have hope for it. I don't think it's going to be. I think this one's going to hit.
Yeah, and I mean, another one, we don't have very long to wait. Nintendo is doing this thing in recent years where they just announce a game like just a few months before it comes out. And I kind of love it because it's not like, I mean, obviously they didn't do that with Metroid Prime 4, but like, you know, a lot of these games, it's like, yeah, you hear about this game for the first time and it comes out within the next 9 months. And I love
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're talking within 6 months, right? Like, we all kind of looked at this Nintendo Direct, this one, as being, oh, here's the big one. Let's get the roadmap for where we're going in 2026. And instead, and they've been in line with this the last year or so, they are really just showing us, here's the next 3 months, maybe up to 6 months, but it's
Mhm.
really filling things out. And I can understand some people being let down. People always can be let down by showcases. It is what it is. But this one really does an amazing job of, here's what you're playing on the Switch 2 for the next 6 months. And like, if there's nothing here for you, Switch 2 is probably not for you, because this is really, really, really like a expansive library.
It really is. Like they're doing a great job of making it well-rounded right from the jump. And not to mention they have the entire Switch 1 catalog playable on
Mhm.
Switch 2, which is just an incredible library. But Yoshi and the Mysterious Book comes to Switch 2 next spring. That wrapped up all the Mario 40th anniversary announcements. How did you feel about this first segment in the direct? Like, did you feel let down when from it? Did you feel like this is incredible? Like when you went into it, when they're like, "Hey, we're going to talk about the Mario 40th anniversary," did this meet your expectations?
Well, just starting this off, I didn't expect to get a 3D Mario.
Mm.
The Donkey Kong Bonanza to me says that 3D Mario is further off than 2026. I just don't think that makes sense for how they would be releasing these things. I also think it's important to note that unlike the Switch 1, Nintendo's dealing with a very different world with the Switch 2. I think that for some of the heavier hitters, 3D Mario, Animal Crossing, like and a new Smash Brothers, a Switch 2 edition is a separate conversation, but you don't release those games until you have as many Switch 2 units in the wild as possible. Like right
Yeah.
now is all about, let's just, like, in the same way that Switch 1 was just porting the first couple of years, porting Wii U games to the Switch for people to play for the very first time, because 13 million people owned a Wii U. And I'm one of them, and I played all those games, and then I
Same.
loved playing them again on Switch, right? I think that's happening again here of Switch 1 games getting Switch 2 editions. We still have a bunch of those to go. But in addition to that, we are getting new titles, right? Like, we are getting a ton of new stuff. But I think that we're going to get a couple more Kirby Air Rider style games, because those are just going to appease the audience that has the Switch 2 now. But they want to put Animal Crossing out for to be able. You can only sell as many copies of a game as people have Switch 2s. So wait until there are like 30 million people can't buy Animal Crossing on Switch 2 if 30 million people don't have a Switch 2.
Yep.
And I think 3D Mario is a similar thing there. I know it's not necessarily what people want to hear, but like it really makes sense. So sorry, very long way of getting to. I wasn't expecting 3D Mario. I don't want to say I was blown away by what they showed, but I'm also not let down. Ending on a Yoshi game, not the move I would have done. I also think
Hmm.
this entire Mario section probably could have been placed better in the direct. I think starting with it wasn't the right move. Um, but I'm just a stickler for presentation and production with all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I can't be mad that when we got Mario Galaxy 2. Like that's something that was not a guarantee. And so yeah, I'm happy with it. Getting the Mario movie stuff, it's like, yeah, there was good stuff here. A Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition, like a lot of stuff that I'm like, I actually care about this and I want it. So I can't complain. But yeah, not the most exciting thing. But when you compare this to like Mario's 35th anniversary, it's like we got 3D World and Bowser's Fury there. We got Mario 35. Like, it's about in line with what I'd expect.
Mario 35, another thing that was unceremoniously delisted in addition to Mario 3D All Stars. Like that,
Yeah.
extremely short-lived things they had as part of that celebration, which very
Mario
strange.
35 makes sense to me though. That was more of like a hey moment in time game. Let's just all jump in on this. It's focusing on multiplayer. So like let's give it a moment and then we can move on. 3D All Stars being a time thing will never make sense, especially with how well that game sold. Like,
right?
that sold like I think 4 or 5 million copies. Like, why would you cap that? But
So strange.
whatever.
I mean, trying to understand Nintendo's logic on a lot of stuff
Yeah,
is just
fool's errand.
a fool's errand. I constantly say that about predicting what they're going to do next.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, with all the Super Mario 40th anniversary stuff out of the way, we're going to take our first break of this episode, and when we return, we'll be hitting all the other big announcements out of this Nintendo Direct. We will be right back. We are back, and Mario is now officially in the rearview mirror for this Direct, so we will be now touching on all the non-Mario announcements that we got out of this presentation. And in the interest of not getting too bogged down, we'll only be covering the biggest announcements and skipping some of the smaller ones. Not because they don't look good, but just we can't go infinite amount of time in this episode. We're not going to do another 3-hour episode of this podcast like we did a couple years ago when we had a Direct to talk about.
I love it.
So right after the Mario anniversary stuff, we jumped right in with a few indie titles. But the first game that I want to talk about in this second segment is a game I've been waiting for a long time, and that is Tomodachi Life: Living the Dream.
Yes.
Are you like me and you're a Tomodachi Life sicko from back in the 3DS days? What?
No. That is not me, but I'm so happy it's you.
Dude, I love it. It's a top 5 3DS game for me.
Wow.
I love it. It's up there for me with, like, I mean, I think Link Between Worlds is always going to be my favorite 3DS game of all time, but it's up there, like, probably 2 slots below that. It's like Pokemon XY is probably in that top 5, but yeah, it's incredible. It has, so like, if you're not familiar with the concept, it's basically like you create a batch of Miis that are going to live on this island together, and they get into all these weird interactions, and like, it's all text to voice, but like really robotic and strange. And like, it's
Hilarious.
just like
Bizarre.
this trip of a game, like, that you just always feel like you're in like this dreamlike state of like, what the heck are they doing? Like, I had like, I would always import like celebrities into my Tomodachi Life Island. So I would have like Reggie Fils-Aimé and like Danny DeVito hanging out. And then like,
why not?
Barack Obama and Shaquille O'Neal. Like you'd walk into like they rooming together, and you'd walk in, like Barack Obama would be rolling around on the ground while Shaquille O'Neal was like dancing or something. I'm like, this is the greatest game that's ever existed. And so they showed off the Mii creation tools, the text to voice interactions, and like, it's just the weirdness that it makes it so darn charming. And it made me so happy that they don't seem to be changing that at all. And it was a long presentation. We don't need to go into like all the stuff they showed, but there's still no release date, but we did get a release window, and it is coming to Switch next spring. Yeah. So I hope you jump into it, Tim, because I think you would have a blast, like just doing stupid stuff in this game.
Weird
like,
stuff. Yeah, I'm usually not into like any level of like life sim or micromanagey thing, like Animal Crossing, Sims, city builders, any combination of that stuff. Usually not
really?
my bag, but I love anytime these trailers pop up. I'm all in because I'm just cracking up at how weird it all is. It feels simultaneously very Nintendo, but also not Nintendo. Like, this is definitely an example of that 3DS era, but still happening, and like, you don't get that much these days, so it's cool to see.
Yeah, it's a game that is circled on my calendar as soon as they give it an actual date, but for now it's just spring of next year. Then the next game that we got was a game that I guess a couple weeks ago talked about how it actually runs surprisingly well on Switch 2, Final Fantasy Remake, or Final Fantasy 7 Remake Intergrade.
Yes.
First entry in the Final Fantasy 7 Remake trilogy, finally coming to Switch 2 on January 22nd, 2026. By the time that the third part of this remake trilogy comes out, Tim, do you think it's going to be fully multi-platform?
Well, that's the thing. The director has been heavily implying that, and very much saying like, support this game on multi-platform because they want the trilogy there and all that stuff. So the wording is kind of vague enough that we'll see, and that the interest is definitely there. And for sales, they got to do this. I think that putting out Rebirth as an exclusive on PlayStation was like not a great call. But we don't know what the deals look like. I think that's still the thing, is I don't know Did Sony buy on for 3 games for the entire trilogy, or is it a case-by-case type situation? So I think we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening there, but I'm hopeful that it'll be figured out and it'll be a day-and-date situation, because Final Fantasy VII is very near and dear to my heart. I love Remake. I love Rebirth. I can't wait for what's next. And what excites me so much about this game coming to Switch 2 is, I think more so than the other consoles or PC, Nintendo gamers, there are more of them that are solely Nintendo gamers. Like, a lot of people are like, all right, I have a PlayStation and a Switch. They see it as like a secondary system. There are a lot of Nintendo gamers that, like, they only have their Switch and they play Nintendo games, and if it comes out on anything else, they're not even considering it. And I literally can name 5 different friends of mine that would have loved to play Final Fantasy VII Remake and are finally going to be able to for the first time now. I think that game is so at home on the Switch. So this is going to be...
It's almost like when Persona 5 came to Switch, and it was like, oh, this is a perfect fit. And I think the Final Fantasy VII Remake is that way. And I think that Square Enix actually came out and said, like, you know, we've been releasing a lot of like single platform games, haven't been living up to our sales expectations. That's a strategy we're going to tone down moving forward. So I would be very shocked if, like, you know, Rebirth doesn't come out like maybe later next year on like all these different platforms, including Switch 2. And then by the time we get part 3, it's going to be full on like day and date.
I'd be willing to bet it's almost to the year, like to the day. Like that just seems like that's what is going to happen. But that's what makes me believe, like, or makes me concerned that it might have just been a 3-part deal. So we might not be out of that cycle yet, you know, but we'll wait and see. I imagine we're not long from hearing about the 3rd title and a release plan for that, because it's been a couple years since Rebirth, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, that's so absurd. It's been that long already. So they started showing some indie games, which great. But the next thing that we want to talk about here, so we got Silksong, as you're well aware, Tim. I've seen the pictures from your appearance on Kind of Funny over there after the announcement of the release date.
Yes. I'm halfway through Act 2 right now. God, I love this game, but it is hard.
Yes, I've heard that as well. So everybody's waiting for Silksong to get this announcement. Finally happened. And then everybody kind of turned their focus towards the next game that they talked about, which is Hades 2. And it's been in early access for a while now. We finally got a 1.0 release. And guess what? It's next week. Wow. We're getting 2 sequels to 2 of the most critically acclaimed indie games of all time in the same freaking month. And that's just absurd. The Switch and Switch 2 versions have cross-save compatibility with the PC version. So if you've been playing early access on Steam, you can transfer your progress over to the Switch or Switch 2 version. Switch 2 version can run up to 120 frames per second in TV mode, and it's going to be a timed console exclusive. And if you get the Switch 1 version, you can get a free upgrade to the Switch 2 version if, like, you know, you get a Switch 2 down the road. Tim, which one did you pop more for this month, Hades 2 or Silksong?
I mean, that's a crazy question. Both. The thing is, though, the reality is that, like, I mean, Silksong, I never really played through Hollow Knight. Like, I've always been obsessed with the look of it all, but how obtuse and difficult the game is really turned me off. Like, I'm not necessarily that type of gamer. And Silksong to me starts off a lot faster and is way more, it's a Metroidvania, like traditionally. It's still incredibly difficult and brutal. I don't necessarily love all those aspects. But Hades, on the other hand, Hades is a game that I would literally and have recommended to anybody interested in video games, period. That game is so good. And Hades 2, early access, I don't really play early access games much. I'm 30 hours into Hades 2. Like, it is perfection in video game form in every single way, whether it's presentation, gameplay, just everything about the loop of that game. If I could only play one game for the rest of my life, it would probably be Hades or Hades 2. Like, it's just infinitely rewarding. So yeah, it getting a release date so soon, it's brutal, man. Like, there's just too many games coming out. Like, I'm not done with Silksong. And yeah, thinking about the Game of the Year contenders this year, it's like, oh man, we are stacked. But good for them, man. I am so incredibly proud of Supergiant for what they've been able to do. Having their first sequel game, right? They've had a bunch of games, but they're all kind of new IP. A sequel to my favorite and the best received one. This is going to be awesome. I already know it's amazing because I've played so much of it. It being a console timed exclusive to Switch, I don't like. I do think this is the type of game that everyone should have access to, and it will come to PS5 and Xbox later. But I feel for a sequel to a beloved indie game, it should have been everywhere day one. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the exclusivity side.
Yeah, I don't know what went into that deal. Maybe Nintendo gave them funding to help them get through it faster. I don't know. It could be anything,
Mm.
but I generally
The
agree
first
with you
one
that,
was as well.
yeah. But I generally agree with you that, like, it's great to have, like, especially sequels of beloved games to be on as many platforms as possible and when they launch. So that's unfortunate, but I mean, for people like you were talking about before that only own a Switch or Switch 2, that's
Yeah.
perfect for them. Um,
Oh, they're gonna love it.
so Hades 2 comes to Switch and Switch 2 on September 25th. Also enters 1.0 on Steam that same day. And I got to say, I feel bad for all those indie devs that moved out of the way of Silk Song only to move directly into the path of Hades
Of
2.
Hades too. Yeah, I mean it's wild. We are
Uh,
eating out here as gamers.
we really are. The year of too many games. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody even thought that coming in. Like, nobody thought that this year was going to be as insane as it has been. But here we are, and we're all struggling to keep up with all the games that are coming out and all the announcements that are happening. So the next thing that we learned that we're going to touch on here just real quickly is we are getting a second Kirby Air Riders Direct, which after the last one took 45 minutes, that feels a little insane. Like,
Yes, it is. Good.
literally,
Hell yeah.
here's a
Go for it.
little tease that I got when I was at the watch party. When that happened, I kind of let my reaction get the best of me, and I said, "What more is there to say about this game?" And somebody on the communication side looked over at me because they were in the room setting this up, and they said, "You'd be surprised."
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean,
ooh,
like, I don't know if you remember how the last one ended, but it was a pretty exciting little tease at what looked like a single player campaign with like some
yeah,
like evil Meta Knight-y looking like dude on like a motorcycle type warp star. I don't know. That stuff looked cool. Here's the thing: do we need another Kirby Air Riders Direct? No. Did we need a 45-minute one to begin with? No. But also, absolutely. What are we talking about? Let Sakurai talk about his games in any way he wants, in the most insane levels of detail about every single aspect. That's what makes these games special. His games are weird. Let's just have fun with it, you know? So I'm here for it, but yeah, it is a little absurd.
Sakurai is just the most charming man in all of video games. So I am
Yeah.
happy to sit there, and if it's another 45 minutes, I'm happy to stare at him and watch him
Yeah.
make little, like, self-referential jokes and chuckle to himself.
Amazing.
Like, that's always just entertainment value right there.
So
So
good.
they didn't give a date for the direct, but the game itself comes out November 20th. So I imagine that, it'll probably be next month if I had to
Mhm.
guess. Get more details
Sounds
on
right.
whatever they're going to talk about. The next game is another game that I'm very much excited for, and that is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. We got a look at sync strikes, where characters team up for powerful attacks, as well as some of the Zonai devices that you can use. There's split screen co op, as well as game share functionality, so you can play on multiple systems with just one game. But the big news that we got is a release date. There were so many months, ever since they announced this at that April Switch 2 reveal, it was slated for just winter. And now we know it comes out November 6th. So, Tim, are you a Warriors guy? Because I am not, but I make exceptions for the franchises I love, like Persona and Zelda.
That's kind of how it goes, right? Yeah, so I am not a Warriors guy, but I want to be, and I think that attaching it to IP I love, like that's the right way to do it. Hyrule Warriors, all the different versions we got, whether it's the older Wii U one or now the Hyrule Warriors with the
Age of
more Breath of
Calamity?
the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, like canon side of it all.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously gets me in. I love the like butt rock versions of all the Zelda songs. Like,
Yes.
there's a lot going for it. I'm like, yeah, this is just cool, and I'm here for it. The problem is the games run so poorly, and so seeing this one in great resolution, great frame rate, like it's a surprise. The balls that they have to have this be a split screen multiplayer game, like I have no faith that that's going to run well. But I'm not going to play it that way. So as long as the single player stuff runs well, I think this is easily the most excited I've been for a Warriors game ever. And we know Link's not in this, just timeline wise and stuff, but the tease we got here of kind of the Zonai armor forming
Yeah.
into what looks like the shape of Link, I'm kind of excited for that. So yeah, got my eyes on this one. It seems, let me say this, it has the potential to be the first Warriors game I beat. I'm not saying I'm going
Whoa.
to, but it might.
I have beaten the first Hyrule Warriors and I have beaten Persona 5 Strikers, but I did not beat Age of Calamity. And everybody tells me I should because apparently it's quite good.
Yeah,
Uh, but like that's like a multiversal alternate timeline thing. So like it isn't actually like a prequel to Breath of the Wild. It's like an alternate timeline where like you actually I think are able to like fight back against Calamity Ganon, which is cool. But like the whole appeal to that first one was I want to see what happened in the lead up to Breath of the Wild, my favorite game of all time.
yeah,
This Tears of the Kingdom and Age of Imprisonment are actual like
actually
canonical
tied.
connection. Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
extremely
so
excited for that.
cool.
I will
Hmm.
prioritize that. So the next trailer started with kind of a mysterious voiceover and then a zoom into a cave before we saw these like toy-like character models who are extremely expressive, by the way. They look incredible. And it turned out to be Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, which is
Yes.
a long rumored remake of Dragon Quest VII. And man, it is so cool looking. And
It is so cool looking. I love it, man. I'm not a big Dragon Quest guy, but I am so happy that the fans of that franchise are getting such great representation of what these games can be. Like getting 1 through 3 in that HD 2D style is a
yeah,
godsend. I love that art style. The idea of older games being remade with it. We had Alive, fingers crossed for Chrono Trigger and the Final
oh my
Fantasies of that
God.
era. But I think that not everything translates to HD 2D. So it is kind of cool to get this kind of more PlayStation 1 era, maybe even late Super Nintendo era games kind of get a different type of visual upgrade. This looks awesome. I love when art styles of a remake are so new but feel like they have the spirit of the original. Link's Awakening comes to mind, where
Hmm.
obviously a very different style, but like you look at it and you're like, oh, this has the soul of Link's Awakening. And looking at this, I'm like, this has the soul of Dragon Warrior 7, Dragon Quest
Yeah.
7.
It looks incredible. The art style really accentuates the Akira Toriyama character designs and everything. And there's also like a streamlined main story, moonlighting system that lets you equip 2 jobs at once. And then there's other stuff they're saying they're going to talk about in the future. So again, I'm not a big Dragon Quest guy, but like I want to check out 11 at some point because I've heard that's incredible. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe this is a better starting point. And again, not long to wait because it's coming to Switch 2, Switch, and every other major platform on February 5th.
Yeah.
I think next up is probably the most unexpected announcement of the Direct.
Let me
You know
guess.
where I'm
The
going.
Virtual Boy.
Yes, Virtual Boy
Yes.
is
Okay.
back via Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. It is easily Nintendo's biggest failure, and they're bringing it back for seconds, similar to Morbius coming back to theaters. It's super cool what they're doing, and like I'm so happy that like these games are going to be available to play on like a non-impossible to find piece of hardware. But this is another one of those why is this so expensive announcements. So first of all, you need to have the premium Switch Online subscription with the expansion pack, which $50 a year is not bad at all, right? Like
Yeah.
that's less than either PlayStation Network or Xbox Live. Then you need to buy either a $100 Virtual Boy dock for your Switch, which by the way doesn't seem to make any improvements to the really clunky original. My thought is they could have at least made like the head strap so you could wear like a VR goggle if you wanted to like lay down or something while you played. Or there's a $25 cardboard dock, so it's like Labo basically, but you can't just play it in TV or handheld mode, which I understand why they want to do like the stereoscopic 3D because that's what like the main gimmick was. But it just, I don't know. It's like weird that you can't play these games without that. And like you have to pay this extra fee to get like these like gimmicky peripherals, which I feel like we've left behind. Like this is not the Wii anymore, where we have like Guitar Hero controllers and Tony Hawk Ride controllers laying around and Wii Fit boards and all that stuff. Like the Switch 2 has some peripherals, but it's not like, hey, I'm gonna have plastic all over my living room. I feel like that era is behind us. But here we are. Now you need to have this Virtual Boy dock if you want to play it. And if this is up your alley, it comes to Switch and Switch 2 on February 17th. Tim, what the hell is this?
It's funny because I feel like my thoughts on this are semi hypocritical and all over the place because I want to start this by saying I hate the Virtual Boy. I hated it when it came out. I don't like a single game on it. I have played a ton of them. My cousin had one, so I ended up having a lot of experience with it. And even as a kid, I was like, I don't want to play this. And that was at a time when just playing a video game was more enticing than anything on the planet. So I'm fairly anti-Virtual Boy. Having said that, I'm very pro Nintendo history. And I also am very pro Nintendo putting as much love and care into their NSO controllers as they have. So this existing, I think, is great. I think it also is awesome that it shows that Nintendo is willing to have peripheral-based NSO libraries, because this way we can get a second screen adapter potentially, allowing for DS and 3DS games to come to the NSO. That's, a lot of putting out expectations there, but I see that kind of happening, and more libraries, more full libraries being on NSO is great and adds to that value. I've said for a long time, especially with the family plan, the NSO is such a great value, and I understand how frustrating it is that Nintendo kind of piecemeal releases these games, but jumping in now, you have nothing to complain about. NES, SNES, N64, Genesis, Game Boy, it's like, it is easier to count the games that aren't there than the ones that were like waiting, like that are. It's like, yeah, obviously the OG Pokemon aren't there. Donkey Kong 64 is not there. Like, there are games that aren't there yet, but overall, it's like, wow, we got a lot to play. The pricing's insane. It goes back to what I was saying. Like, I wonder how much the Virtual Boy thing would cost if we weren't in the world we're in right now. We'll never know, but I'm willing to bet it would be a lot more realistic, because you look at what product line this is part of, and the N64 controllers and GameCube controllers and all that other stuff, they're way more reasonably priced than this. So yeah, price is definitely a bummer, and I do not want to play any of these games. I will be buying this though, and
fair enough.
I don't buy Amiibos, I don't do all this stuff, but like, I am a retro Nintendo enthusiast, so I want to support them doing this, even though it makes no sense.
And it's going to make your eyes bleed. But like, to your point, if I did not think about like, oh, maybe this is like a test case for them to like see if like a DS or 3DS peripheral would be of interest, or like a Wii U thing, even like a Wii U gamepad. Mm-hmm. Why not start with one of the successes and then work your way towards their most catastrophic failure in company history, that I think was the reason that Gunpei Yokoi left Nintendo feeling disgrace at his creation.
Because I see this, I mean, this to me is definitely, this is a nice to have, not a need to have, right? And I do think that they're at a point now with NSO that they're just running out of things to be able to kind of put on. And I don't think that they are in a position right now to want to force a bunch of people to go buy new hardware. They're trying to get people to buy the Switch too. So I think this is just kind of like a fun thing they could add to NSO right now that's not a distraction. I think a DS is too big of a deal, right? Like the DS games would be like huge for them. And I can see them potentially doing that down the line.
Yeah, and I guess maybe they don't want to put it out when like the system feels like it's running out of steam, because then it's like, oh, they're really grasping at straws here. They can do it now because like the system's never going to be hotter than it is right now, unless maybe they put out an Animal Crossing or a Zelda game. But like, yeah, I mean, that now I guess does make sense now that you frame it that way. Let's jump ahead to one I think we're a bit more excited about in a straightforward manner, and that is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We got to see a mechanic that Samus has in this game where she's riding around on a motorcycle. It looks like a giant hub world. The bike is called a Viola. A Viola? I don't know. But you can get around way faster than if you're running. It's in third person when you're cruising around. Then you jump off and you immediately enter first person. It looks kind of like Tron meets like Breath of the Wild's Master Cycle. And
great rules there, yeah.
Yeah, it looks incredible. You can even fight enemies while you're riding around in the world. Like, that was really cool. It's not just like, okay, well, I can ride this thing to wherever I need to get to. It's like, no, there is motorcycle combat, which is insane to me. Game continues to look great. I just don't know quite what to think about the Viola quite yet, but hype level out of 10 for Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, man, that's such a funny question, because like in theory 10 out of 10. I also just feel like it's been so long, and like everything we've seen of it, I mean, I got to play it a couple times now, and I love it, and it's just more Metroid Prime, and you can't say that with it being tinged with anything negative. We're talking about it's just more of one of the greatest games of all time. Like, sign me up. With higher resolution, all that stuff. I like new games that feel like old games. And I think that all this needs to do is just give me more Metroid Prime. Some of the stuff we're seeing, the open world and the or open area, whatever that is, and the bike, I'm not necessarily sold on, but I'm also not as down on it as it seems like some people are. Like people are like, oh, it's just so empty. There's nothing in this world. It's like, well, it's Metroid. Like it's and it's also retro we're talking about. They haven't missed. So I
Yeah.
still have faith in them for sure. The release date was a bit of a surprise to me. Not that this is the end of the world anyway, but what is it? December 4th.
December 4th.
Jay-Z's birthday, everybody. Never forget.
Hey.
But yeah, this game is coming out December 4th, which means it's not eligible for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards because
Ooh.
those usually end in mid-November, which again doesn't really mean anything at all. I doubt Nintendo even cares. But at the same time, I guarantee a conversation was had somewhere there. We know that stuff. So just kind of interesting. That means it's eligible for the following year, but that never happens.
That never happens. Yeah, Smash Brothers was the same way, but I think that ended up winning a couple of awards because it was like I think it won Best Fighting Game for the Game Awards that year, which is cool. Good for them.
Yeah, Metroid Prime, man, it's happening.
Yeah, man. I was starting to worry it was going to slip into next year, so it's very, very good news that it's coming out December 4th.
I would have been okay with next year, honestly, like early next year. But
Yeah.
I just feel like we have so much going on right now. I just don't want it to get drowned out. There's something about December games. I feel like they always get drowned out in conversation and just, you know, I don't know. Metroid is not something that I want to get swept under the rug. I feel like it deserves time to shine.
Sure. Definitely understand that viewpoint. Something that kind of got, lost in the shuffle for a lot of people, but then became a topic of conversation on the internet. One of the biggest games of the year got some surprise DLC like the same day as the Direct. And boy, oh boy, is it getting kind of eviscerated online. I think that like few games have had the positivity surrounding them this year at launch as Donkey Kong Bonanza. And, they were kind of riding that high. And I think maybe that positivity kind of got to them with this because Nintendo announced and released the DK Island and Emerald Rush DLC. And on the surface, this seems super cool. Like you sound like you're a huge Donkey Kong Country fan the way I am. So you can explore DK Island from Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong 64, which is a whole new area for Bonanza. Plus, you can take part in a fun little roguelite mode that's called Emerald Rush. And the problem here is, though, that in DK Island, there are no new Bonandium gems, no new fossils. It's so just really just an empty area to explore. And then Emerald Rush seems like it's fun, but it gets repetitive relatively quickly. But here's the catch. It's $20. And the reason that I think this is a problem is this is the Mario Odyssey team we're talking, right? When Mario Odyssey had its extra content, it was free. So Mushroom Kingdom, which was their kind of analog to the DK Island, right? It's their nostalgia level. That was included in the base game. So it didn't even have to get a free update. And then Luigi's Balloon World, which was added post-launch as like a fun little mode to like enjoy these levels in a unique way, added at no extra cost. So this costing $20, I think, set these higher expectations of like, oh, this is a whole new world with like new goals and everything. The Mushroom Kingdom in Mario Odyssey had moons to get and had different things you could do. It wasn't the best level by any stretch, but it was something. It was a fun little bonus. This feels, I don't know, leaning into like kind of like what we've been talking about this entire episode is that like Nintendo is just charging us more than they ever have before. And for things that they, similarly haven't charged for in the past.
It is deeply upsetting. It's such a bummer. I love Donkey Kong Bonanza. I give it a 10 out of 10 on our kind of funny scale. Perfect game, no, but masterpiece of fun, absolutely. And I am a huge Donkey Kong Country guy, like you were saying, and I'm a huge Mario guy, and the Mario 3D team is one of the most talented teams out there, and Bonanza's proof of that as well. Beating Odyssey and getting to the Mushroom Kingdom, seeing Peach's Castle is one of my all-time game moments.
God.
It was so good. And there being more moons and all that stuff was great. But pretty quickly, I became let down by that. It's definitely a this is on me type expectations thing. But I thought we were going to be able to jump into paintings. I thought we were going to get like some more like Mario 64 levels remade like we saw in Galaxy 2. And sure, that's crazy to ask for, but like it just felt so good. It felt like an Odyssey. Oh my God, we might go to Isle Delfino, like whatever in DLC. Yeah. And we just didn't get any of that, right? So in Bonanza, without spoiling things, the whole game, I'm like, I hope we get to DK Island. So watching the direct when they showed we're going to DK Island, I popped off. Like, I'm so excited about this. This is what I've dreamt of. And then seeing more of it, and then Blessing played it, and we were talking about it. I've only booted it up. I'm incredibly let down. I am so
Mm-hmm.
sad that this is like one step forward, two steps back towards the dream. The roguelike mode's fine and cool. I don't think it should be a free upgrade. And yeah, this DK Island is a huge letdown. I think there's even less to do than in the Mushroom Kingdom and Odyssey. And this is $20. It's not worth
Yeah.
$20. This is a bummer. And on top of that, Donkey Kong Bonanza did not need DLC right now. Like, the game came out 2 months ago and has so much to do that I doubt the majority of people have beat it, let alone 100% of it in this time. Like, I don't know. This seems like such a misstep when Mario Kart World needs DLC right now.
Yeah, and I feel like if they waited a few months and took those few months just to add like some Banandium gems and fossils, that this would have been way more well received. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, they felt like they rushed this out for some reason. I don't know if that's because like maybe this team's moving on to another 3D Mario or something, but like I don't know. Like you said, it felt like a misstep.
I mean, it's just really, really sad to look at this and to think that Donkey Kong Bonanza and this DLC is $90, right?
Yeah, and
You
like
know,
like I said,
like the
like
Switch 2 editions of games, where it's like, hey, here's this game that you already paid for, or maybe you didn't before, you didn't buy it, but there's also a plus this world, whatever, and then it like Kirby in the Forgotten Land, right? It's like, cool, that brings that game up to $80. It's 60 plus 20, cool.
yep.
Now we're talking about Switch 2 games getting a plus $20 bump. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and like I said, it had such goodwill up to this point, and now it's like we're kind of floundering some of that goodwill through this post launch DLC that just feels unnecessary. But we're coming down to the end of this direct right now. We've got a few more announcements to touch on, and then we'll get you out of here, Tim. We got to the Pokemon section of the direct, and this was a weird one. Pokemon Pokopia, which almost looks like Animal Crossing meets Dragon Quest Builders, but with Pokemon, and I am so here for it. I know you're not a big life sim guy, but this might scratch that itch because you take control of Ditto, who transforms into the creepiest human character you've ever seen, can copy abilities from Pokemon from around the island. We see him use Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle's abilities to do certain tasks. Bulbasaur's abilities can grow grass. Squirtle can water plants. Charmander can start fire. Then there's like Hitmonchan can punch through dirt and rocks to like terraform. Scyther can cut down trees. So I'm pretty excited to see like how the Pokemon can be leveraged with these abilities. Does this feel like it crosses that threshold for maybe you'll check it out, or are you still like life sim, not for me?
Yeah, Pokopia, not for me. But it's okay because again, not every game's for everybody. I think that this game clearly has an audience, and it is a genre that Pokemon hasn't tackled before, and Pokemon can do anything. They've proven that. So yeah, I think that this looks neat. I like the art style. I think it's a little bit like overly produced in the sense of like, why is it a Ditto that turns into a human? Like, just let it be a Ditto. You know what I mean? Or just let it be a human. There's certain stuff about this that I'm just like questioning the Pokemon lore of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks cool. I will say I was disappointed because I am one of those like old people that like want certain things. And so when we first saw the Pokedex, I was like, are we getting the original games on NSO? I'm expecting those Pokemon Day 2026 in February,
I
but
hope so.
yeah.
So we'll see if that happens. But Pokemon Pokopio comes to Switch 2 in 2026. No release date outside of that. And speaking of Pokemon, we are less than a month away from Pokemon Legends ZA, and they have already announced new paid DLC called Mega Dimension. This is adding 2 versions of Mega Raichu plus additional story content. Pokemon Legends ZA is coming to Switch 2 and Switch on October 16th. And Tim, from our time in Paris playing Pokemon Go, I know you are a fellow trainer. So what's your hype level on Legends ZA?
It's pretty high, right? Like we're less than a month out for it coming out. I'm very excited for it.
So close.
And yeah, I like that it's different. I do like that there's going to be a way more active style of combat. I am one of the few true lovers of Scarlet and Violet. despite all of their issues. I know
I'm there
you
with
are as
you.
well. Exactly. So yeah, I definitely my love for Pokemon. My entire life I've loved Pokemon, but I don't want to say I ever fell out of love with it, but I became a little disillusioned somewhere around Gen 7, where I was just kind of like, all right, so like 9 got me back in every way possible to like such an extreme extent that like, yeah, a new core Pokemon game is something I'm very much looking forward to. And this DLC is interesting. I think this is another thing they're kind of like roping into, like, oh, Nintendo's so greedy. I'm okay with this one. It's a little weird that it's being talked about before the game's even out, but I think for Pokemon that's a good thing, because I haven't really loved the Gen 8 or Gen 9 DLC coming out so much later than the games.
Yeah.
Like, getting back in kind of felt weird. So knowing that this is coming soon is exciting to me.
I would agree with you 100%. Like it always happens too late, and I've already moved on with my life, right? Like I don't need to go back and play Scarlet and Violet's DLC or Sword and Shield's DLC
And they're
because I've
great,
already
by
moved
the
on.
way. They're so
Yeah,
good. Like,
I've heard they're good.
specifically the part 2 of the Scarlet and Violet one, like, it's so good.
Yeah, I want to go back and play it. I started to replay when it came to Switch 2. I just got sidetracked by Breath of the Wild because, of course.
Yeah, that happens.
The Direct closed out with 2 announcements. One's for a third-party game coming to Switch 2, while the other one is a big first-party game. First up, Resident Evil Requiem is coming to Switch 2 on February 27th, which is not only my birthday, but also Pokemon Day. And on that same day, we're also getting Resident Evil Biohazard and Resident Evil Village, which is a lot of Resident Evil coming to the Switch on the same day. Nintendo typically spreads these kind of releases out when they bring out multiple
Yeah.
games to like a Switch or Switch 2, but Capcom does not seem too concerned on that. But like, what would be the ideal release cadence for these types of games?
This October, put out 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I'm blown away that they're putting them out on the same day. That doesn't make any type of sense to me. So yeah, it's a little weird. Happy this is happening, right? Like I really want to see Switch 2 succeed with third parties. That is Nintendo's biggest problem area overall. And like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of people that just play Nintendo. So I think the Resident Evil franchise, as well as Final Fantasy, like we were talking about earlier, those are franchises that are known quantities that Nintendo fans are going to want to play. Getting 9 day and date on the Switch 2 is not something I expected, but excites me greatly. I've played a little bit of 9. It was awesome. I have nothing but faith in Capcom. I just hope it runs well. And I love that all the different ones are coming to the system as well. Like, this is just a win overall. I think very, very cool. Maybe not the most exciting thing, because I'm not going to play it on Switch 2. I'm going to play on PC or PlayStation 5 for sure. But all this needs to do is run good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of the multi-platform games that we're getting on Switch 2. And so far, I think it's pretty good track record for Switch 2 multi-platform games. But, you know, we'll see what Elden Ring comes out as, because I've heard bad things about that port.
And that's unacceptable, man. That's the one that had to work. That's the one. Ugh.
Yeah. So finally, the one last thing for this Direct was Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. This is an all-new mainline entry in the Fire Emblem franchise. Nintendo promises an intertwining story, compelling characters, and the turn-based tactical gameplay we've come to expect from the franchise. We don't get a whole lot of like concrete details in this trailer, but we did get a pretty good sense of the tone that it's going for. I mean, not a whole lot of details, at least as far as my untrained eye can pick up, because I'm not the biggest Fire Emblem guy. But we did learn that it's going to be one of Nintendo's big releases in 2026, because that is the release window that they gave. It's kind of one of those announcements where I'm happy for the people who love Fire Emblem, but it's not like the one last thing I was hoping for.
Yeah, and I think that's very fair. I do love Fire Emblem, admittedly not necessarily the more recent ones. I didn't vibe with Engage, and even Three Houses, which I know is like most people's modern favorite at this point. I never even saw it all the way through. I didn't love how much they added with the third person walk around stuff, because I got into Fire Emblem with Awakening. No, sorry, not Awakening. With Path of Radiance on the
Oh,
GameCube.
okay.
I played Radiant Dawn on the Wii, and then Awakening on 3DS, which was so good. I hope that one day we get to play that again. And then I even played a couple after that. And then we started doing the Fates remakes and stuff. I got Fire Emblem out by the time Three Houses came around, which this seems to be a semi follow-up to with some of the characters. This looks great visually and with the resolution and everything. I'm excited for it. I do love that Nintendo treats Fire Emblem like one of its flagship IPs, because it is. And yeah, a lot of like people are going to be like, oh, more Fire Emblem. It's like, well, we don't get that much of it. And the last couple we've gotten have been like incredibly well received. So it's not going anywhere. And I kind of love that Nintendo gives this the coveted one more thing spot. I also understand, though, that you're playing with fire. You're playing with there when you do that, because I mean, it's horribly ironic to me that Smash Brothers was the greatest thing to happen to Fire Emblem, because it introduced the West to Marth and Roy, which then led to the games being eventually released in the West for the very first time, and now it's a major franchise. But I also think Smash Brothers is the worst thing to happen to Fire Emblem, because it allowed so many Fire Emblem characters to get memed to hell, because it's like, oh, another Fire Emblem character in Smash. And like, I think that is kind of for people that don't play Fire Emblem, that's all they have to say. Is like, there's too much Fire Emblem. And it's like, is there? Or was there just Fire Emblem characters in Smash Brothers? And since you have that untrained eye, you kind of lumping it all together.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's better than what the Smash Brothers effect has been on F-Zero, which is just like Captain Falcon's just a Smash Brothers character at this point.
Yeah, totally.
I say every entry when a new Fire Emblem is announced, oh, this is going to be the one that I get into it. I played Awakening, I started Three Houses, and then I fell off immediately with Engage. But this one looks pretty good. Like, I'm hoping that like this is the one that can finally help me break through and get into this franchise, because I know so many people who love it. But Tim, I know you got to get going. But before we wrap up here, what was your favorite announcement from the Direct? Was it Mario Galaxy 1 and 2?
Oh, man, that seems like such a lame answer, right? But no, genuine surprise that we're actually getting Galaxy 2 and that some love's being put into it. I'm very excited for that. I think the box art looks great on that Switch 1 case, Galaxy 1 and 2. So cool. It's probably Hades 2, though, getting a release date that's so close. Like, again, a semi-known quantity, because I'm 30 hours deep into the game already, but because of early access. But, man, that's so good. There's so much good stuff here. I just don't know that there was anything that's like, oh my God, my life's changed. But I can't complain in a Direct that gave us the release date for Metroid Prime 4.
It was incredible overall. I think that, this is one of the better Directs we've had in a long time. I would say that if it's not going to be Mario Galaxy for me, it might be Pokopia. Like, that's just such a weird concept, and I'm such a fan of Pokemon that like I'm excited for any weirdness that they embrace. So that's what I'll say for mine. And then the final question I'll ask you is, what letter grade would you give this Direct?
Oh, I mean, I'd give this an A.
Okay.
Like, I think content wise, this gets an A. There's a couple things I'd move around and change, and like, I think that I could argue maybe it's a B to some extent. But like, again, I when you look at what's there, there's so much good. When you start looking at what's not there, it's really easy to be like, oh, there was no 3D Mario, there was no XYZ. It's like, that'll come later. Like, this, clearly, they're trying to show us from September 18th until February 2026 what we're playing on Nintendo consoles, and they gave us great answers almost every week, it feels like. So, yeah, this one, I think they did the damn thing. Not my favorite Direct of all time, but it was really good.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I was thinking A-, B+ for my letter grade.
I'm cool with that. That sounds right. I didn't realize we're doing minuses and pluses. Like, yeah. Overall, final score, B+.
Okay. All right. Well, we will agree on that one. I don't think it's the best Direct ever, but it's probably a top 5 Nintendo Direct ever. Like, it was just there were a few like really great announcements, and then I would say it was incredibly solid from top to bottom. There was no like, aside from the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC, it might be like pretty incredible from start to finish. So
yeah.
I'm going to say A- for mine. Tim, before we cut you loose, tell people where they can find you online.
You can find me at Kind of Funny Games, just at Tim Gettys, TimGettys. We do stuff every day on Kind of Funny Games, talk about video games, talk about movies. We're live on YouTube, live on Twitch. It's a great time. So yeah, thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I got to cut you loose before I invoke the wrath of Greg Miller, because I know you have a meeting to get to.
We
But
have a production meeting. Unfortunately, I would love to stay and talk to you, but thank you for having me, man.
yeah, absolutely. Tim, thanks so much again. We're going to take one final break, and when we return, it's just going to be me giving my review of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. We will be right back. We are back, and Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is set to come out next week. But the review embargo is up now, so I can share my thoughts on Sonic's new kart racer to close out this episode. So I had a chance to play Sonic Racing CrossWorlds a few months ago. I traveled out to Sonic Team, and I got to play the Demon Slayer game. I got to play Shinobi Art of Vengeance. And now I had a chance to play Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, or that was back then. But now I have a chance to play the full version, and I'm able to deliver my thoughts to kind of close out this jam-packed show. So Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is coming out in such an interesting time because, we got Mario Kart World earlier this year, and the idea of going up against Mario Kart World in the same year is such a wild idea. As Sonic has always taken Mario on head on, especially back in the 90s. And it's always been kind of in a different way, right? Like Mario was more of like a methodical platformer, more power-ups driven. Sonic, in the beginning at least, was less power-ups driven and more about less about precision. It was more about the speed and like getting through the levels as proficiently as possible. That's kind of been the strategy with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds versus Mario Kart World. You look at Mario Kart World as kind of this giant open world game with the tracks that you drive from one track to another, and there's just a giant world to explore, and you can do like multiplayer co-op sessions as you cruise around. But ultimately, it's just an incredibly strong kart racer with some really awesome tracks, but like a lot of kind of fluff, if you will. Like the open world is a cool concept, but I don't know if it's necessarily the most compelling content. It almost leads the product to feel a little bit unfocused, even though it is a very good Mario Kart game. I'm not trying to bash it too much. But I think it's safe to say the open world was a little bit underwhelming in Mario Kart World, and it would be great if they could make a better version of that through like a DLC thing, like Tim was saying in the most recent segment. That said, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds kind of goes the opposite direction, and rather than having like a big open world or story mode or something, it just goes straight in with just kind of like a focused, streamlined kart racing experience. But the core conceit is very similar, right? Like you're getting in, you're selecting characters from this giant roster of Sega characters, Sonic characters, crossover characters. Right now, I think the version that I have just has like the characters from Sonic Prime, the Netflix show that I think had a decent first season and then completely fell apart in subsequent seasons. Um, and then Hatsune Miku is the other crossover character, but we're getting SpongeBob, we're getting the Minecraft characters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles characters, from what I understand, and all kinds of different crossovers from Sega as well, like Joker from Persona 5 and Ichiban from Like a Dragon. So there is a lot of crossover stuff, which may make you think that like maybe this isn't going to be like the most concise or tight kart racer, but the mechanics are actually surprisingly good. Like I think that this is a very technically sound kart racer, and there's 24 courses as you go through this this game. And but like the kind of gimmick that this is, like, there's a lot of gimmicks in this game. Like you can go from like a cart to an airplane to a boat over the course of the entire thing. It's almost like taking the Racing Transformed gimmick that was in the previous game or two games ago in the Sonic Racing series. But then there's also these cross worlds. So like when you're going through these courses, the 24 main courses, in the second lap, the character in first gets to choose which track they go on, and the tracks lead to different CrossWorlds, which basically teleports the entire group of racers to a second track. Like it just teleports them, kind of like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and so suddenly you're like in this dinosaur world, or you're on like it's called like a digital I forget what the name of it is, but it's like a digital rainbow road almost. And then like there's a cyberspace one, and so like it plays great remixes of some of the levels from Sonic games, like the mainline Sonic games that these levels are based on. So that's kind of cool that like you do a 3-lap race of every single one of these, but the second lap is just a completely different course. And I think that's such a cool gimmick, and it's executed really well. The power-ups also are kind of like a hit or miss, because the courses and the power-ups are kind of like a mixture of like, this is from Sonic history. This one is just a random thing that the developers just wanted to do, which I feel like cheapens like the pool a little bit, because it's always like, all right, well, here's this thing that has no bearing on like Sonic history whatsoever. It's just like a world that nobody's ever been to in a game. I would have preferred they stuck with like a chemical plant zone or something like that, rather than just like a random generic world. But the cross worlds themselves are quite involved. And the power ups are kind of the same way, where like they hit all the major archetypes that you would expect from like a Mario Kart game. Um, but like some of them are like, okay, yeah, this was from Sonic Lost World, or this one was from like the Sonic Colors, and there's other ones that are just like completely made up. Like there's no like cohesion with the Sonic lore. So it did take me a few races to figure out what all the power-ups do. And there's some that like I still have to like think like, oh, what does that do? Because it's not like consistent with the with like a Sonic game from the past. The other big thing that I think that this game does way better than Mario Kart is the customization aspect. So there's cosmetic customization, and then there is a gadget system, which is like a loadout that you can build for your character. So every character is sorted into 5 different classes, right? So there's speed, handling, power, boost, and acceleration. Those are the 5. And so you choose which character you want to be based on those classes. So Sonic being speed means he has higher top speed. Knuckles being power means he can kind of like bully enemy or opponents around the track and hit them. And if he runs into them, sometimes they'll lose coins or rings. And Amy is handling, I believe, so she can like take corners really tight. And Tails, I believe, is acceleration, which just means he gets up to speed faster, but his top speed isn't as fast as like a speed character. And then there's boost, which I think is the most technical of these archetypes, because it's based on the extreme gears, which are the hoverboards from the Sonic Riders racing series from back in like the GameCube days. And there's like the hoverboards that you're going around, and basically like when you drift, or when you hit like a boost pad or have like a boost power up, your boost is better than other people's. So you really have to maximize your boosts in order to be successful with that boost formula. But when you go into a race, you can choose your character and they have their archetype, and then you can choose what machine they ride on, and those also have their distinct archetype. So just because Sonic is a speed character doesn't mean you need to have him be on a speed cart. You can have him on the extreme gear, and you can have like Sonic speed with a boost, or you can double down and be like, all right, I want Sonic as a speed character in a speed machine, and that'll make him even faster. And then there's also gadgets that you can customize, where it's like you get like these plates that are basically loadouts, and you can go through these plates, basically customizing what gadgets you want on there. And different gadgets take up different amount of space, almost like a Resident Evil inventory. Very simple, but like almost like a Resident Evil inventory, where you're like, okay, I want to have this thing on my loadout, but it takes up 2 slots instead of just 1. So like I wanted to have 3 power-ups instead of just 2, so I can hold an extra power-up when I'm going through the races, and I can bank it. That takes up 2 slots. But like if I want to have like, okay, when I hit an item block, it is more likely to give me defensive abilities, or a defensive item, like a shield or like the kind of vortex that blocks incoming attacks, that is only a one slot thing. Or like there's another one where like if you fall off the map, you land back on the map when after you fall and you get placed back up on the track, you get an automatic boost to help you recover from that falling off of the track. So things like that, you're just constantly building. Like in my playthrough, I was constantly finding myself in the front because I was racing the computer most of the time, and so I built a defensive loadout because I would constantly be getting Mario Karted in the sense that I'd be like right at the finish line, and then I was hit with an item that would knock me off, and then like 3 guys would sneak in before I could cross the finish line. So I tried to find ways to prevent that and build like a more defensive loadout. Whereas I think that like if you like playing like kind of the handling characters, you can build it so you get more speed boosts as part of your loadout, or your speed boosts are better, or you like having different things are more effective. Different items are more effective when you get them. So there's ways that you can customize it there. And then there's also cosmetic customizations. Like as you play different modes, you can actually unlock different carts, which unlock different components that you can slot into the customization to make your cart look unique. And then you can also apply different paint jobs and decals and even auras, which are like kind of like this like glow that the carts have around them. So the customization, I think, is where Sonic Racing CrossWorlds really leaves Mario Kart World in the dust there. It also has crossplay, which is something that, Mario Kart World is only on Switch 2, so it doesn't have to have crossplay. But having Sonic Racing CrossWorlds have crossplay is great because, I have it on PS5. I can play against people who get the Switch 2 version. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to once more people have it. But I had a really great time with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. There's some things that aren't quite as good as Mario Kart World, but there's some things that are better than Mario Kart World. I think it is by far a more well-rounded kart racer than Mario Kart World, whereas Mario Kart World has those incredible tracks, but it has a lot of filler. Now that content that might not be the most compelling content, but it is content. So it has more meat on the bone. But Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is by far a much more well-rounded product. It's a much more focused product. It's more concise. I think it's a more effective kart racer. I don't know which one I would recommend. I think they're both pretty solid choices. I did not play the Switch 2 version, unfortunately. I played the PS5 version, so I can't speak to how it runs. The Sega only provided a PS5 code, but we'll keep an eye on how the performance goes. But for now, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds hits Switch and Switch 2 on September 25th. And, I think that if you're looking for something, if you were let down by Mario Kart World, or like it wasn't the direction you wanted, I think you should check out Sonic Racing CrossWorlds because it's a pretty fantastic kart racer. So with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also hit me up at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or reach me at Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. That is our show for this week. Thank you again so much for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Before we wrap up this episode of All Things Nintendo, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of the show. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jason Thompson, Jawar Hello, Johnny 5, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, KC Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper 207, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, and Zek 3 Sword Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support and allowing me to continue doing this show week after week.